I'm Layla with Canine Harmony. I'm a professional trainer as well as volunteer on the OPH training team and a foster. Sadie here is an OPH dog that we adopted about 4 years ago. She was 16 months old when we adopted her, and she definitely had some crate separation anxiety. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to prevent crate and separation anxiety once we all start leaving the house again and going back to work. Right now, most of us are home 24/7, and our dogs are probably going to be getting used to that idea, but it's not going to be forever. So there are a lot of things that you can do now to set your dogs up for success down the road and prevent them from having some issues. Now, if your dog is used to being left out of the crate and that works, that's great. If your dog is crate trained and they're staying in their crate overnight and during the day while you're at work, then you definitely want to start implementing these steps so that they are getting used to back to being in the crate. So the first thing is, if you really have a dog that struggles with the crate, or you're going to be starting this retraining process, you want to start with a leash. Just a regular leash clipped to their regular collar is fine. So you want to go ahead and clip them up. And you can either use their kibble if that's a high enough value treat for them, or you can use some little bits of freeze-dried liver or hot dog or cheese, whatever works for your dog. You also want to start feeding your dog in the crate, and feeding them in the crate with the door shut. That way they realize that the valuable resource they're getting is in the crate, and it's also non-negotiable. So you want to start with using a little bit of pressure on the leash to guide them in, get them up, and then when they're in, say good, and go ahead and toss a treat into the crate. And you're tossing the treat into the crate because, again, that kind of reinforces that the good stuff happens in the crate. And you also want to work on having them wait with the crate door open. Again, if they start to rush out, then they're not really committed to being in the crate, and it's really more of a trick than anything. But if you're asking them to wait in the crate, then you're really starting to get them to use their brain and looking to you for direction instead of just going in for a second and going out. Now, this is something you can do a couple of times a day, 5 or 10 repetitions each time. But then you also want to leave them in the crate at the end of this session. So you can say, let's go, let them out, good girl. And then pressure on the leash and guide them in, good girl. And if your dog does put up some resistance, just keep that pressure on the leash, and the release of pressure is going to let them know that they've done what we're asking. You don't need to talk to them a whole lot. You don't need to kind of push them into the crate. We really want that pressure on the leash to keep giving them the information that they need. And again, you want that eye contact of they're looking to you for direction. You want to be able to shut that door and then open it. And if they do decide to rush out, again, shut that crate door. And you can also start this, if your dog is used to being crated during the day, you can start crating them overnight too, especially if they're snuggling with you in your bed. This is a good opportunity to start getting them used to kind of that separation. And also just leave the house for an hour or two at a time. Go for a walk by yourself without your dog. Go outside in your yard, do some yard work, and really get your dog used to just having you leave the house and not being with you 24/7. Another thing you can do is actually just have them wait in their crate with the door open. And again, shutting that door if they try and come out, because again, this is reinforcing that they're supposed to stay in here. Another thing that you can also do is, if you're working from home, put your dog in their crate. Shut them in there for a couple of hours a day in another room, or even just in the room with you, but in another room is ideal because, again, they get used to that separation from you. Okay, let's go. All right. Let's go. Come on. And then you kind of want to graduate to the point where you can just use their collar to guide them in, or they'll just go in on their own when you say kennel up. And then you want to be able to shut that crate door. So you want to be able to get some distance. You want to be able to have them just in their crate calmly. And a couple of things as far as troubleshooting goes, you might get some barking, whining, crying in the crate. So there are a couple things you can do for that. You can grab a can of pennies and shake that at them. There's something called Pet Corrector, which you can get on Amazon. It's just a can of compressed air, and you spray it just in their general direction and say the word no. because you want to interrupt that behavior. Ignoring your dog whining in the crate oftentimes doesn't really do a whole lot, and dogs can go on for an hour or two at a time, and it doesn't really teach them a whole lot. Whereas if you're going to be interrupting them, you're giving them information that that's not acceptable behavior. Another thing that you can do is the crate earthquake, where you shake the crate. I'm not going to do it a whole lot because Sadie's being calm in the crate. And you're meeting your dog's intensity. So if they're whining just a little bit, then you can just shake the crate a little bit. And if they're being a little more intense, barking a little bit more intensely, then shake it more intensely. You can also, again, like I said, you can use bitter apple. You can spray your dog with a water bottle. There are a couple different things, just finding what works for your dog. Again, we want to interrupt that behavior rather than just ignoring it, because we want to give them information that that's not acceptable behavior and get them to really settle into the crate and get used to it. And we also want to get them out of that anxious state of mind, so again, that they get used to being in there and being calm. Again, this should be part of your daily life, and just spending a couple of hours a day with your dog in the crate is going to go a long way to preventing crate and separation anxiety once we all go back to work. Hope that helps, and feel free to send me an email. My email is layla@canineharmony.us. That's Leila @K9 harmony.us. If you have any questions or just any other dog training questions in general that I can help with. Hope that helps, and take care.